When Colonel Sanders started his restaurant, fried chicken was not a rare dish at all. But how did he come up with the idea to start selling it? And why did he choose the number 11 for his restaurants? Well, here are some unexpected facts about KFC that you never knew you wanted. Sanders began his career in food service in 1930 when he bought a gas station along the highway in Utah called the Sanders Court and Cafe. This is where he began experimenting with frying chicken. He'd been cooking since he was a child, including during the Great Depression when he had to cook for himself while living on his grandparents' farm. During this time, he learned how to make cornbread, which would later be served in his restaurant. While running the court and cafe, he also sold gas and tires and even provided free oil changes to customers. One night while Sanders was driving home from a trip to Idaho Falls, he ran over a pothole and blew out a tire. Since there was no spare, he took off his hubcaps and made a set of makeshift hubcaps out of raw potatoes. The next day, he put the same set of potatoes over an open fire until they were burnt to a crisp. His wife encouraged him to take the dried potato skins and toss them in the fryer. He added some salt and pepper, and what he came up with was so delicious that he decided to serve it as a side dish in his restaurant. As the years passed, more and more people started stopping by Sanders Court and Cafe just to get a taste of his famous fried potatoes. At first, these were mostly truck drivers who were looking for a place to grab a bite to eat. But word got around, and soon families were making the pilgrimage to Sanders Court and Cafe just for a taste of those delectable potato skins. Sanders soon realized that he could turn his potato skins into a full-fledged business, and so he developed a process for making them that could be replicated in any kitchen. He opened up a new restaurant dedicated entirely to serving fried potatoes. It was an instant hit, but it wasn't without its problems. Sanders had to deal with complaints from locals who felt that his new venture was taking away customers from their businesses. But he persevered, and eventually his hard work paid off. Fried potatoes became a staple of American cuisine, and Sanders became one of the most successful restaurateurs in the country. But the story doesn't end there. After he sold his restaurant, Sanders went on to become a major player in the fast food industry. His secret recipe for fried potatoes helped him to create a chicken dish that would change the world forever. When he was younger, Sanders had worked at a slaughterhouse and had seen firsthand the process of butchering chickens. He knew that if he could find a way to make fried chicken that was both affordable and delicious, he could create a business that would be unlike anything else in the world. And so he set to work experimenting with different recipes and techniques until he finally came up with the perfect combination of herbs, spices, and pressure frying that we all know and love today. He named his new restaurant Kentucky Fried Chicken, or KFC, and it was an instant hit. People flocked to his restaurants to try his unique fried chicken, and before long, he had expanded to multiple locations across the country. But Sanders didn't stop there. He knew that if he really wanted to take his business to the next level, he needed to franchise it. So in 1964, he began selling franchises to other entrepreneurs, and KFC quickly became one of the most successful restaurant chains in the world. Today, there are more than 20,000 KFC restaurants in more than 145 countries, serving more than 8 billion customers each year. One thing you may not know about KFC is that they used to have a completely different slogan. It read, "Lickin Good." However, in 1991, they changed the slogan to something that was more family-friendly. They didn't want to be known as a restaurant where people lick their fingers after eating, so they changed it to the Lickin Good taste. Even though it sounds similar, this change helped KFC appeal to a wider audience and become one of the most popular restaurants in America. It's safe to say that if they had kept the original slogan, KFC might not have become so successful. In addition to the Colonel, KFC has had several other spokespeople over the years. For example, in the early 1970s, they used a guy dressed like a chicken to promote their restaurant. He was usually seen dancing or doing other funny things. Additionally, from 1978 to 1982, a group of people dressed as chickens performed in parades and other public events. They were known as the Chicken Squad, and their job was to promote KFC. In the late 1980s, KFC brought back the Colonel, but they also introduced a new spokesperson named Chicken Man. He was a cartoon character who appeared in commercials and on promotional materials. In the 1990s, KFC used a variety of different spokespeople, including the Colonel, Chicken Man, and even a bucket of chicken. In the early 2000s, KFC brought back the Colonel as their main spokesperson, and they've stuck with him ever since. Most people don't know that the iconic white suit worn by the Colonel wasn't actually his idea. In fact, it was suggested by the head of a local advertising agency. He thought that the suit would help to make the Colonel more memorable, and it definitely worked. The suit has become one of the most recognizable symbols of KFC. But it wasn't always popular. In the early days, many people thought that the suit looked silly and out of place. However, over time, it grew on people, and now it's considered to be one of the Colonel's trademarks. KFC has experimented with a lot of different menu items over the years, but some of their most interesting items are the ones that they've discontinued. For example, in the early 1970s, KFC offered a dish called shrimp baskets. It consisted of fried shrimp, French fries, and coleslaw, all served in a wire basket. The dish was a hit with customers, but it was discontinued in the late 1970s due to rising shrimp prices. Another item that was discontinued was the chicken pot pie. It was introduced in the 1980s and featured a flaky crust filled with chicken, vegetables, and gravy. Despite being popular, it was eventually removed from the menu in order to make room for other items. In recent years, KFC has experimented with a number of different sandwich options. One of the most interesting was the Zinger sandwich, which featured a breaded chicken breast, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise on a sesame seed bun. The sandwich was a hit with customers and was even named one of the best fast food sandwiches by USA Today. However, it was discontinued in 2015. Did you know that for many years KFC had a secret menu? It wasn't widely advertised, but if you knew about it, you could order all sorts of items that weren't listed on the regular menu. Some of the most popular secret menu items included the chicken taco salad, the chicken Caesar salad, and the chicken wrap. Unfortunately, KFC eventually got rid of their secret menu, but there are still a few items that can be ordered if you know what to ask for. If you're a fan of KFC, then you probably already know that the Colonel loved to wear a black string tie. But did you know that this was actually a symbol of his military service? That's right. The Colonel served in the U.S. Army during World War I, and he was awarded the Purple Heart for his service. After the war, he continued to wear his military uniform and even attended veterans events. He was a proud soldier, and he was happy to share his service with others. Many people believe that KFC was founded in Kentucky because that's where fried chicken originated. But did you know that this isn't actually true? In fact, fried chicken was invented in Scotland. It was brought to the United States by Scottish immigrants, and then it became popular throughout the South. This is why KFC is actually headquartered in Georgia, not Kentucky. In the early days, KFC was known as Kentucky Fried Chicken, but the founder later changed the name to KFC. He did this because he wanted to appeal to a wider audience, and he thought that KFC sounded more modern and catchy. He was right, as the company went on to become one of the most successful chicken chains in the world. One of the most interesting facts about KFC is that at one point, they were considering changing the Colonel's name to Uncle C. This would have been a huge mistake, as the Colonel's name is now synonymous with KFC. If they had changed his name, it's likely that the Colonel wouldn't be as recognizable today. KFC is known for their buckets of fried chicken, but did you know that at one point they were also selling buckets of biscuits? That's right. In the 1970s, KFC began selling a bucket of biscuits as an alternative to their fried chicken. The biscuits were flaky, buttery, and delicious, but they were also expensive to make. This is why KFC eventually stopped selling them. Have you ever wondered why KFC uses 11 herbs and spices in their fried chicken? Well, the answer is simple. The Colonel just liked the number 11. In fact, he even registered the trademark 11 herbs and spices in 1952. He chose the number 11 because he thought it was lucky, and he believed that it would bring him good fortune in business. It is safe to say that it worked, as KFC is now one of the most successful chicken chains in the world. One of the most surprising facts about KFC is that the founder was once arrested. That's right, in 1960, he was arrested for speeding. He was driving his Cadillac at 80 miles per hour when he was pulled over by the police. He was fined $100 and released. To this day, he held on to the ticket as a reminder to always drive safely. Many people believe that KFC was the first fast food restaurant to introduce drive-thru service. However, this is not true. The first drive-thru was introduced by a Missouri-based restaurant called In-N-Out Burger in 1948. However, KFC was one of the first chains to adopt the concept, and they began offering drive-thru service at their restaurants in the 1970s. KFC is a global brand, but did you know that they had to overcome some language barriers in order to succeed? For example, in Japan, the Colonel is known as Tonkichi no Kenta or General Sanders. This was done in order to make the Colonel more appealing to Japanese customers. Similarly, in China, KFC is known as Kentucky Chicken, and they even have a Chinese Colonel. Do you know anyone who loves KFC? If so, then be sure to share this video with them. They'll love learning all these new facts about the Colonel and his famous fried chicken. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.